Students, now let us look at one important model for facility location. It's an important part of network planning. What the general topic which we are looking at. So simple plant location model is actually a simpler model which is used for facility locations. A simple plant location model can be used to select vendors. The model may be formulated as follows. So there are many applications of a simple plant location model. You can locate your supply points, which in this case we will do, which is for vendors. You can locate your destinations as well. You can locate your warehouses as well. So there are diverse application of simple plant location model. Let us look at the basic model first of all from the perspective of vendor or a supplier. Now, if you see this basic model, it would be for some minimizing function of z subject to some constraints. So what we have a constraint problem with us. Constraint problem वो है जिसमें there is not only the objective to be maximized or minimized, but it should be satisfying the different constraints as well. So we have different constraints here as well. We have a sum of ckj xkj, which plus the sum of the product of f and y, fi to yj, fj to yj. Now, what is xkj? Xkj is the fraction of items k's demand purchase from vendor. So whatever you are purchasing from the vendor, let's say there are so many vendors, so you represented by vendor j. Vendor j could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So xkj is the fraction of items, the number of items changed into a fraction of items, demand of your total demand, which is purchased from some vendor j. Now, what is yj here? Yj is an assignment. So assignment is such that if that vendor is selected, the value of yj would be 1. Otherwise, it would be 0. What does it mean if some vendor is not selected? So the second part of this minimization function for that vendor would become 0 because the assignment would be 0. So 0 multiplied by any value of that f would be, the f is actually the fixed cost associated with employing that vendor. उस vendor के साथ जब आप, तो ये ordering cost की form में हो सकती है. एक vendor को जब आपने select किया है तो उसको ऑर्डर करने के लिए आपके पास कितनी कॉस्ट जो है वो बेयर करनी पड़ती है. दैट कॉस्ट इज fj. सो इफ लेट्स से द fj इज 1000 rupees या 10,000 rupees, but that vendor is not selected, तो that part would be 0. लेकिन here it is the whole sum. This is the sum of fj yj. So if 1 or 2 vendors are selected, this sum would be positive. अगर कोई भी वेंडर सेलेक्ट नहीं हो रहा तो देन सिंपल प्लांट लोकेशन मॉडल नहीं हो सकता. दैट मीन्स कि दिस पार्ट कैन नॉट बी नेगेटिव, ये 0 नहीं हो सकता. सो व्हाट आर द कंस्ट्रेंट्स व्हिच वी हैव टू लुक एट? द सम ऑफ एक्स के जे शुड बी इक्वल टू 1. आपकी जितनी भी फ्रैक्शन ऑफ डिमांड है, वो जो फ्रैक्शन में आपने चेंज किया है, उसका सम इक्वल टू 1 होना चाहिए. 1 मीन्स यू आर सेटिस्फाइंग द होल डिमांड. तो जितनी भी फ्रैक्शन है, इट शुड sum up to 1. आपने 10 वेंडर से जो है वो उसको खरीदा है, तो वो the whole fraction of those 10 vendors should be equal to 1. Then xkj should be less than equal to yj for all k and j's. यानी for any value of k and j, xkj should be less than or at most equal to yj. तो जो fraction of demand आपने परचेज की है वो ज्यादा नहीं हो सकती जो assigned vendors हैं उनसे. Then yj should belong to, the third constraint, should belong to 0, 1. That means either y is 0 or it is 1 for any value of j. यानी j की कोई भी value हो, या तो वो 0 हो जाएगा या 1 हो जाएगा. That means it's an assignment. Then xik should be greater than or equal to 0 for all k and j. और जो फ्रैक्शन ऑफ डिमांड है, आइटम्स हैं, वो या 0 हो सकते हैं या 0 से हायर होंगे. दैट मीन्स दिस पार्ट. तो व्हाट इज ck? देन ckj इज एक्चुअली द कॉस्ट ऑफ परचेजिंग ऑल आइटम्स. items from some vendor. So it's the cost of purchase. X क्या है? X आपके पास, X is actually the demand, fraction of demand which is being satisfied by that vendor. F, what is F here? F is the fixed cost associated with that vendor, and if that vendor is selected, then Y is 1. If that vendor is not selected, then Y would be 0. So both parts are like different from each other. From this model, the first term on the right hand side represents the total variable purchasing cost, and the second term on the right hand side represents the fixed cost associated with utilizing the vendors. So जो दोनों parts हैं, now you can actually you can have a better comprehension of those parts. The first constraint actually represents the variable cost associated with it, and the second one is actually associated with the utilization of that vendor. If that vendor is utilized, then you would have some fixed cost associated with it. The fixed cost actually include the order processing cost, contract setup cost, and follow-up costs. The first constraint actually ensures that the total demand for each item is satisfied. जो आपका पहला constraint था, वो constraint क्या कर रहा है? वो जब आपने ये कहा sum of all x kj's should be equal to 1. Strictly जब आप ये कहते हैं कि इस कंस्ट्रेंट को सेटिस्फाई करना है, व्हाट डज इट मीन? आपकी टोटल डिमांड इज एक्चुअली सेटिस्फाइड. टोटल डिमांड जो ओरिजिनेट हो रही है उसको आप सेटिस्फाई कर रहे हैं, तो जो सारी फ्रैक्शंस हैं एक्स के जेस एनी फॉर एनी के एंड जे नंबर वुड एक्चुअली सम अप टू 1. देन द सेकंड कंस्ट्रेंट इंश्योर्स दैट द परचेज ऑर्डर इज प्लेस्ड विद द वेंडर ओनली इफ द वेंडर इज सेलेक्टेड. व्हाट डज इट मीन? ये असाइनमेंट थी आपके पास कि अगर जो परचेज ऑर्डर है वो उसी वेंडर के पास आएगा अगर वो वेंडर सेलेक्ट हो रहा है, यानी y इज इक्वल टू 1. y अगर 1 होता है तो देन देयर इज अ परचेज ऑर्डर. द फाइनल टू कंस्ट्रेंट्स एक्चुअली रिप्रेजेंट्स द बाइनरी एंड नॉन नेगेटिविटी रिस्ट्रिक्शंस ऑफ द डिसीजन वेरिएबल्स. तो ये समटाइम्स फॉर कंस्ट्रेंट प्रॉब्लम्स, ऑप्टिमाइजेशन प्रॉब्लम्स, वी हैव टू गिव सम बाइनरी कंस्ट्रेंट्स, नॉन नेगेटिविटी कंस्ट्रेंट्स देने पड़ते हैं ताकि वो नॉन नेगेटिव ना हो, वो नंबर it should be positive number. So that is what we have done in this simple model. Now, if the objective is to minimize late deliveries as in the case of just-in time manufacturing, then the following objective function may be used. हम अगर just-in-time manufacturing करते हैं, just-in-time manufacturing, one must know that you would have the idea of just-in-time manufacturing. सिर्फ इतना इस वक्त यहाँ पे ध्यान में रखें. Just in time manufacturing, JIT in manufacturing means when you are requiring that demand, you are ordering it in such a time that practically जो lead time है that is actually minimum. So you are not wasting the lead time and you are placing an order with the vendor virtually when it is needed, when that demand needs to be satisfied. So in that case, can we use simple plant location model? Yes, we can. So the modification in the objective function would be such that it would be some k, some j, a k, p k j, x k j, plus the second part actually remains the same, which was for the fixed cost part, sum of j, f j, y j. So if y is 1, then it would be multiplied with the fixed cost. Here we have two new parameters for just-in-time manufacturing, that is AK and PKJ. What is that? AK is the quantity of item K ordered, whereas PK is the percentage of orders of items delivered late by vendor J. So now we don't have the CKJ here in this objective function. जो एक वेरिएबल कॉस्ट थी जो परचेजिंग कॉस्ट थी जो पहले हमारे पास मौजूद थी, जस्ट इन टाइम में हमने सिर्फ एक मॉडिफिकेशन कर दी, उसकी जगह पे ए और पी यूज कर लिया. ए के मीन्स फॉर एनी नंबर 1 2 3 4, ए वुड बी द क्वांटिटी ऑफ आइटम ऑर्डर्ड, यानी अगर आइटम 1 है तो A1 वुड बी द क्वांटिटी ऑफ आइटम ऑर्डर्ड ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर आइटम 1. तो अगर आइटम नंबर 10 है तो A would be 10. In that case, it would be the quantity ordered of item number 10. And what is PKJ? It is the percentage of orders of item K delivered by vendor J. यानी अगर मैं ये कहता हूं कि what is if it is P51, तो जो 1 है वो रिप्रेजेंट कर रहा है वेंडर को, and the 5 is item number. So the percentage of item number 5 being delivered by vendor 1. Similarly, we can have different values of numbers of PKJ. So just in time के अंदर we will be actually looking at this modification. So similar simple plant location model can be used, but it needs to be modified. So students, we have seen a simple plant location model which can be used for a vendor selection. And the interesting fact is that it is not only used for the traditional vendors who have some lead time with them, and you are just looking at the purchasing cost and the fixed cost associated with those vendors. You can modify the simple plant location model as well for the vendors when you are in just-in-time manufacturing. So the modification is there, all the model would be the same, and that can be used for the selection of the vendor when you are looking at virtually a very negligible lead time. Thank you.